Hey, just so you guys know, my audio recording situation for this video is a little bit iffy, so sorry if the audio is a little bit echoey. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to finally continue our journey of ranking the many safe houses across Great Bear. Before we start, I'll review our ranking criteria and give a quick spoiler warning. This video is going to be pretty heavy in locations that are from the Tales from the Far Territory expansion, so if you wish to remain spoiler free, then use the video bookmarks to skip these safe house locations and get past the spoilers. There are quite a few of them, so I'll start off with the non-Tales from the Far Territory locations first, and then I'll let you know once I start to dive into those spoiler locations so that you can just skip past all of them at once. Alrighty, let's lightning round these rules. Each region can have 3 safe houses on the tier list, with the exception of a silly old joke location on top of that. Transition regions can only have 1 slot on the tier list, and each region only gets 1 joke location. The episode's joke location is decided from me picking my favorite silly suggestion from the comments on the last video. Without spoiling it, I'll say that the one that we have today gave me a really hearty belly laugh. So stay tuned to find out what it is. There are only 2 rules for suggesting joke locations. First, the region that the location is in can't already have a joke safe house on the tier list. Second, the location must be able to, in theory, function as an actual safe house. So you can't suggest, on the end of this tree that's hanging by the waterfall in Timberwolf Mountain. So with that said, hit me with your silliest suggestions and mayhaps you'll be chosen for the next one. Each safe house is ranked from 1 to 10 in the following categories: direct resource accessibility, resources throughout the region and of easy access to the safe house location, indoor utilities, whether the safe house contains things like beds and storage, location within the world, how easily the rest of Great Bear's regions can be accessed from the safe house, and crafting accessibility, how many crafting methods are easily accessible from the safe house location. There are up to 40 points available, and the tiers will be divided as such: F tier 0 to 5 points, D tier 6 to 10 points, C tier 11 to 20, B tier 21 to 30, A tier 31 to 35, with S tier being 36 to 40. Alrighty, now that we've gone over all of that, let's now begin this next installment of our Safe House series. Our first location of the day is a cute little fixer-upper of a cabin resting right on a river and just a short walk away from a gorgeous waterfall. We have the Bleak Inlet cabin. This is one of the more isolated interiors of the region, but isn't too far away from the cannery or work residences. Plus, assuming that the upper plateau rope is deployed, it is very close to the fire lookout and radio station. There are also a couple of nearby moose spawns, 1 bear spawn, plenty of deer spawns, and more timber wolves than you'll ever have enough pets for. The abundant nearby wildlife, high loot locations, plus fishing and beachcombing being just a short walk downstream will give this location a pretty comfortable 8 in resource availability. Indoor utilities are pretty average in this spot. There's a bed, fireplace with 2 cooking slots, and a couple containers for storage. I feel like when you look at this place, you'll think, yeah, that'll do. So I'm going to put this location at a 7 for indoor utilities. It could do with some better storage, but it's great otherwise. Next up is going to be world location. Once again, assuming that the upper plateau rope is deployed, the safe house really isn't in that bad of a spot. It's a lot of rope climbs, but you can take the route out of the ravine and into Coastal Highway for a fairly quick access route to the trader. The Far Territories aren't too far away either. With the transition out of Bleak Inlet into Forlorn Muskeg, this safe house actually ends up only a little bit farther than the camp office from the Far Territories. It does end up in a strange spot that makes getting to the northeastern parts of the island a bit more challenging though. So it's going to get a 7 in world location. Finally, we have crafting accessibility. This one's going to be the Bleak Inlet cabin's biggest struggle zone. The only workbench in the region is located in the cannery. This means that you're going to have to walk about halfway across the region through Timberwolf infested areas just to reach it. The bright side here is that the nearest forge is very close, being just a short walk away from where the transition into Forlorn Muskeg spits you out. The other bright side is that the cannery also has an ammunition workbench and milling machine. It's a little bit tough to figure out how to balance the score, but I'm going to end up settling on a 6. The forge isn't too far, and the nearby milling machine and ammo bench is very nice. But not having a workbench in the main location will always be a pretty heavy hit in this category. But hey, you could always just make your own to improve that weak point. With all that said, we end up with a final score of 28 for the Bleak Inlet cabin, putting it just behind the Mystery Lake Forestry Lookout, high up in the B tier. Next up, we have a location that, if you've attended my streams, you'll know that I have opinions on. But regardless, this place holds an intimidating dominion over its surrounding landscape, Due to the auroras, this fortress has become abandoned, save for the few wildlife that roam the outer areas, making any survivor that settles here a monarch of their own castle. Welcome to Blackrock Penitentiary. Before we dive into the specifics of this location, I first want to clarify that the penitentiary is very big, and has multiple places inside that can be considered different safe houses. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to consider the entire penitentiary area as one safe house. This means that anything that is past the loading screen upon entering the front walls will be considered as inside the safe house. So, with that said, how does this place hold up for resource availability? The location itself has abundant tools, firewood, clothing, food, water, basically everything that you could want. Plus, rabbits and wolves spawn along the outskirts of the walls, which can serve as a little bit of extra food if needed. Stepping out of the penitentiary brings you out to a little marsh that has a possible moose spawn and a good chunk of cattails. It is a bit isolated from the rest of the region, but there are plenty of other locations that contain more loot as well. I'm going to give the penitentiary a 9 for direct resource availability. It just cannot be denied how incredible the influx of loot from this location is. Indoor utilities are also pretty dang good. There are beds all over the penitentiary, as well as bountiful storage and lockers, bins, etc. The tougher part is going to be finding good cooking slots. There are only 3 options: a single slot stove near the entrance, a double slot fire barrel near the workbench, and making your own fire in the outdoor areas of the penitentiary. Regardless, there aren't very many locations that are indoor, safe, and convenient for cooking. But they still exist, so this place will get a 9 in indoor utilities. All aboard now because it's time for this safe house to enter the struggle bus. World location is very bad for this place. Being tucked all the way in the northeastern regions, a massive journey from the trader and far territories. It isn't as isolated as the Angler's Den, but it is more isolated than the Mountaineer's Hut. So we're going to place this spot right around the world location scores that those two got, giving it a 2. And last, let's talk about crafting. The first thing that we can get out of the way is the workbench. This place does have one, so that's a good start. Plus, if you go get the key code from the old coal mine, you'll have the milling machine and ammo workbench inside the location as well. The biggest issue here is going to be the forge. The nearest forge is either in Forlorn Muskeg or Desolation Point, both of which are a good deal away from Blackrock. Because of this, the penitentiary is going to get the same score as Mountaineers here, with a 7 for crafting accessibility. Our final total for this safe house lands at 27 points, just behind Bleak Inlet Cabin in the B tier. Next up is going to be our first safe house from Hushed River Valley. This region was a tough one for me to think of a safe house for. I haven't actually spent that much time in this region, but I do know that there is one particular little hidden cave that makes for a very scenic base of operations within the valley. We're talking about this cave right here, which I'm dubbing the Hidden Cave, because, you know, all the little shrubberies and stuff, it's like all hidden, it's tucked away, we like it, it's cozy. Before going into it though, please let me know if you have any other safe house ideas in this region, because despite having nearly 2,000 hours in this game, I am simply too underexperienced in this region to know where people like to look to camp here. Anyway, with that aside, let's get into resource availability. For anyone who has been to this region, you know that it's going to be pretty scarce in resources. There are a lot of little hidden areas that may contain some loot, but it'll be a very harsh journey out to it unless you're already very prepared for it. This cave in particular does have abundant wildlife of all types around it and some cattails, but you'll be struggling big time to find any sustainability here, unless you already brought a bunch of hunting materials with you. Direct resource availability is going to be a 2 here. Indoor utilities. Well, that's gonna be a tad rough. There is no bed in this cave, no storage space, and no cooking slots. Plus, it'll get another penalty for being very cold because it's a cave. Although not quite as cold as the outside because it's a cave. The only reason that this place isn't going to be getting a 1 is because, since it's a cave, you are able to start a fire wherever you want to, which does help to fix the cooking slot issue. It'll barely scrape its way to a 2. World location. We're going to look at Grey Mother's house as a reference due to the fact that you have to pass through Mountain Town to reach the rest of the island from this place. Grey Mother's got a 7 because of its close proximity to the far territories and relatively good distance from central Great Bear. Looking back now, I feel like 7 may have been a bit too high, but this list is not going to be perfect. Due to being more detached than Mountain Town from the rest of Great Bear, but not nearly as far away from key areas as the northeastern regions, it'll sit itself at a cozy 4 in world location, with its biggest detriment being the far distance from the trader. Finally, crafting accessibility. COD have mercy on our souls. So, let's first look at the Grey Mother's house again, because the hidden cave is going to be pretty similar in terms of forges, ammo benches, and milling machines. Grey Mother's also got a 7 for this category, but a pretty big part of that was the several nearby workbench spots that could be accessed. Hushed River Valley has no workbenches at all, unless you get lucky with a prepper cache, but as we've mentioned in previous episodes of this series, we're going to assume that all prepper caches are unstocked. A complete lack of any nearby workbench is going to knock 4 points off of this score, and then we'll pop another off for the increase in distance from other crafting stations. This hidden cave will only get a 2 for crafting availability, meaning that the final score for this location is a 10, putting it at a tie with the Vacant Depot at the top of the D tier. I'm going to give the edge to Vacant Depot though, because of its far better indoor utilities and the fact that it is, actually indoors. Okay guys, from here on out, we're going to be doing safe house locations from the far territories, so if you want to avoid spoilers, then use the video chapters to skip to the outro. Before getting into any of the details from these safe houses, I want to mention that all safe house locations that are in the far territories will be getting a 1 for world location. I go a bit more into it in the last episode of the series, but the general reason is that the far territories are so detached from the rest of Great Bear that they aren't able to get any more than a 1 in this category. The next place isn't the most visually appealing, but what it lacks in looks and makes up for in real estate. The massive interior of this safe house easily claimed the title of largest indoor location from the Carter Hydro Dam when it was added, and it is quite the sight to behold for the first time. This beast of a structure is made up of 3 connected buildings that loom over the eerie, polluted clearings of the zone of contamination. That's right, we're talking about the Concentrator. Direct resource availability is phenomenal in this place. There is an abundance of tools, crafting supplies, clothes, food, water, and other essentials inside, as well as in surrounding locations as well. The biggest thing that will keep this safe house from getting a 10 in resources is the fact that the zone of contamination has little to no sustainable food options. Wolves will yield no meat, fishing is far slower, and prey animals are few and far between. This slight complication will knock off 2 points from the score and give it an 8. But the initial influx of supplies is definitely enough to get you on your feet and set you up for a hunting excursion in a different region. Indoor utilities are where the 2 biggest flaws of this safe house show. Storage space isn't even a question. It's fantastic. A complete overabundance of containers, lockers, etc. It's just ridiculous. The problems are a lack of any bed or cooking slots. Bringing a bedroll fixes the cooking slot issue, but no cooking slots means that you'll have to step outside and hope for favorable weather whenever you want to cook something. With all that in mind, the Concentrator will land with a 2 in indoor utilities. Storage space is nice, but it is the least important of these 3 things, and won't be enough to carry it any higher than a 2. Skipping past world location and straight into crafting availability. This safe house will actually find itself in a very similar spot as the hangar and Forsaken Airfield. They both have workbenches within their interiors and are practically the same distance from their nearest milling machine and ammo workbench. The biggest difference is that the hangar has a forge inside it as well, which is a pretty big bonus. The Concentrator's nearest forge is going to be the one that's in the hangar, and isn't a super quick journey to get to, but it's also not very bad, as it's a trip that you could make in a singular game day without any real issue, given that you know where you're going, of course. That distance is going to knock the score from the hangar's 5 down to a 4 in this category. Adding the 1 point from the world location, this place will end up with 15 points, right below Angler's Den in the C tier. Next up, we have one of the most aesthetically pleasing buildings that Hinterland has ever created to this day. No other structure will give you and your survivor quite the same feeling of just being on a cabin retreat as this place does. Plus, it has a twin location elsewhere in the same region. We're talking about the Island Cottage in Forsaken Airfield. I have met very few people that would disagree with the claim that this cottage and its twin, the Mindful Cabin, are the firm holders of coziest cabin getaway in the long dark. But cozy does not necessarily mean optimal. These cabins are very small, and because of that, they don't have a whole bunch of initial resources available to you. That being said, the little loot that is available in the Island Cottage is pretty impactful, as it has a good chance of spawning a bow in or nearby the cabin. Another bonus of this cottage is that the island that it lays on is rich with small game such as ptarmigans and rabbits. The surrounding ice frequently sees a collection of nearly all the larger animals on Great Bear. Moose, wolves, deer, and even the occasional bear all tend to make their presence known on the frozen surface of the lake below. On top of that, there are 2 fishing huts that are just a short walk away from the safe house as well. The lack of initial resources isn't great, but the hangar being so close helps to make up for it. That, plus all of the sustainable food options that are near the cottage, are going to land this place with a nice, cozy 7 for direct resource availability. Indoor utilities are not bad, but also not great for this place. There is a bed, but only a 1-slot stove and very few containers to be used for storage. This place kind of just has the bare minimum in every category, but doesn't lack anything important, so it'll find itself sitting at a 5 for indoor utilities. Like the Concentrator, crafting accessibility is going to be derived from the hangar. The Safehouse lacks a workbench, with the closest being inside the hangar. It does take a couple in-game hours journey to get away from the cottage and reach the hangar, so we'll take off a bit for that increased distance. Plus, a little bit more because not having a workbench in the immediate Safehouse location is a pretty big downside. So we'll knock down the hangar's 5 and give the island cottage a 3 here. Adding on the world location point, the final tally of this Safehouse is 16 points, tying with the Angler's Den in C tier. The edge is going to be given to Anglers here though because of the fact that Anglers does have a workbench inside of it. Okay guys, it's the moment that you've all been waiting for, today's joke entry. There were a lot of great suggestions on the last video, so many that I was starting to get worried how on earth I was going to be able to choose one. But I was saved from my struggle by this suggestion, which was so good that it made me literally giggle when I read it. Today's joke location goes to Robert Rodriguez for suggesting the High Peak Plateau, and what a wonderful suggestion it is. I truly won't be able to do this place justice, so I'm gonna have to hand off the presentation to Great Bear's finest real estate agent. Take it away. There is nowhere on Great Bear that reaches higher than this lovely plateau. The absolutely gorgeous place accomplishes a stunning combination of fresh air and quiet scenery. The structure itself also achieves a completely new look that has never been seen before, mixing a fine open-air design with a lovely rustic aesthetic. If you love the outdoors, mountains, and some well-earned peace and quiet, then there is truly no better place than this. Well, they sure said it. There is definitely something special about this place, I just can't quite put my finger on it. Well, doesn't matter now, let's start analyzing it. The first thing is resources. Okay, a matchbox, some ammo, toolbox, that's good. Do I need to explain why it's a 1? No? Okay, good. Indoor utilities. I mean, it has a fire pit and a little bit of storage, but it's also quite literally the coldest place in the entire game. 2. Okay, what about crafting availability? That's gotta be somewhat good, right? Let's take a look at this map. Okay, to get to the nearest workbench, you gotta walk all the way down here and get to this cabin. Okay, that's not too bad, but that is a one-way, so to get back up, you have to go over here, then up the longest rope climb in the game, through a gigantic winding path with a lot of rope climbs. 1. So that plus the world location means that we end up with a 5 for the points for the High Peak Plateau. Oh, so that's what was so special about this place. It's our first F tier, so get down there where you belong. Alrighty guys, that's it for today. So sorry for the delay on this video, college just got my mind in a complete scramble and I'm still working on stabilizing. I really appreciate each and every one of you for all your patience and support. It truly means so much to me. And we reached 6K subs, so thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like to help out the channel. If you want to continue seeing my content, then grab the nearest fish and slap that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.